It gives me immense pleasure to start the second half of the day, and a challenging one at that, post a lovely lunch. I request everyone to be as alert as the lunch was tasty. My name is Bhumika. I'm part of the Yes to Access team at the Association of People with Disability, APD. We would like to first of all thank the organizers, NAB Delhi, SBI Foundation, and of course the Department of Empowerment of Persons with Disability for collaborating with us to have our consultation on this day, very important day of Global Accessibility Awareness Day. I would like to firstly give a brief about the organization and why we are here and why we are here to discuss this with everyone in this room. APD was initiated in over 60 years ago in Bangalore by a lady who was 17 years old and was afflicted with polio. Her vision and mission in life she had made to help people with disabilities earn the dignity and respect that any other person would also deserve. And with that vision and mission in mind, she embarked on this journey ranging from livelihood, early intervention, inclusive education, rehabilitation, spinal cord injury rehabilitation, rehabilitation education with collaboration with RCI courses, art advocacy, assistive devices, adaptive technologies, and so on and so forth. APD has had the wealth of knowledge based on our experiences based in Karnataka. We have had a reach in almost all the districts of Karnataka and are now expanding with our offices in Pune. Yes to Access is one of the experiments that APD has started to do. The Yes to Access project, initiated with the thought that if an organization like APD and the government together have been working on disability for so long, why is it that there is not enough visibility of people with disabilities in the society? And we realized very quickly that the issue is actually much more systemic than we had realized, and that is accessibility. So Yes to Access had started with the accessibility in mind. And the reasons, I know my fellow people here are aware very much of what accessibility is, but this specific initiative is actually to engage with stakeholders outside of the disability and accessibility sector. I'm very proud to also say that along with the app that my colleague Prerna was mentioning earlier, we are also in line with the Sugamya Bharat Abhiyan by the Prime Minister of the country, and under the guidance and leadership of Rajesh Agrawal sir, we have been working with the government to do accessibility audits through Sugamya Yatra. Along with the app, our project has this digital accessibility vertical where we are trying to engage with companies and corporates to make their website accessible. And we realized that last year when we did the event called India Accessibility Summit, where we were honored to have Rajesh sir as well, along with our former Chief Justice of India, Justice Chandrachud, who demoed the app on stage. We were very fortunate to have a lot of conversations which opened up in that event, and one event always leads to another. And we're here today because of the deliberations that we had that over there, where we spoke about how we should all get together for a more systemic difference. This working group that we have established, APD has been coordinating is on how to include digital accessibility into curriculums of computer science and graphic design. Now the reason, of course, I do not need to preach to the choir over here. I think it is very important that accessibility is imbibed into all aspects of education. So we thought, let's tackle what has not yet been touched upon as much, and that is of digital accessibility. Because what we've realized is that anyone, when we raise the issue and talk to them about accessibility, everyone seems to be very interested to solve this. As Prerna was also mentioning earlier, we've received a lot of love and a lot of support from the government offices and private sector on how to take this accessibility forward. Even as Mr. C.P. Gurnani mentioned in the inaugural address, where he said that corporates are also willing. So we thought, let's take this opportunity. Let's teach students how to code for accessibility, so that once they are also employed, they are using accessibility standards and implementing them while they code the websites. So these are the working group members that we got together. We were very fortunate to have very qualified people as part of this working group, which has made all the difference. The working group is led by Ms. Padmini. She's the founder of Design Beku, an organization working ferociously for digital accessibility in Bangalore. She has been leading, and she drafted the digital accessibility curriculum, and the working group has supported her by giving her our inputs and made it what it is right now, which we will present to you. And of course, after everyone's consultations and inputs, we would then go back to our drawing board, incorporate everything, and then release it to everyone to use. With that being said, in its current position also, please do feel free to take it up. It's in your folders as well, the copy of the curriculum, along with, it's on the Google Drive folder, which you can scan through the QR code on the file. We have other very important members as part of this working group. Ashmira Hamirani, the senior coordinator for the Yes to Access project. She has been leading the digital accessibility vertical at APD. Ananda, who's part of Sumatak Technologies, who do accessibility testing for websites as well. Amar Jain, I think needs no introduction. Amar Jain, co-founder of Mission Accessibility and a leader in digital accessibility initiatives. Ketan Kothari also, as we heard from him in the panel before this, has also been very actively a part of the discussions. We have Professor Amit Prakash from IIITB, who has, where we have actually already implemented, Padmini and Professor Amit have already implemented a version of this curriculum. And I think it was very important to have his inputs as well. Rakesh, who has been working with Adobe. I know all of us, we know PDFs are the most accessible formats. So Rakesh has been very pivotal in this discussion. Tariq, who unfortunately is out of India, so he will not be joining us. He's a student in the US. Sai Bhagat from CDAC has joined us today in person as well. Shubhanshu, also part of CDAC, has also given us very important inputs on what aspect of the course we can include. And then we have 4 very young and very active students from BMS College of Engineering in Bangalore, 2 of whom have joined us today in this session. So I would like to first of all thank all the working group members who are here and are seated in the front of the room for being a part of this important discussion. And I would now like to hand over to Padmini to take us through the consultation. After Padmini has presented, we will then open the floor for all inputs and discussions. While we do that, I request everyone, our student working group members have kindly volunteered to pass the mic around. I request when you're giving your suggestions, please tell us your name and your designation or organization so that we can keep a track and catch you for implementation later. Thank you. Over to Padmini.
Anyone who's better at Macs can give me a hand here. I'm not being able to move this to the, maybe end show. Yeah. Close this. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. Okay. Oh. Is that?
It's a PDF.
Yeah. Go to view. Okay. So I think this is the power. Is this the PowerPoint?
No, it's a PDF.
It's a PPT. It's a
PDF. It's a PDF.
Okay. As long as I can just go up and down, it should be fine. Yeah. Okay, thank you so much, Bhumika, for the introduction. So my name is Padmini. I'm the founder of Design Beku. We're a collective in Bangalore that works towards digital and disability justice. So my interest in this topic actually arose a few years ago when I was working with Point of View, which is a feminist NGO, and we did a series of consultations of people with disabilities to understand how they were encountering technology. And what we found is that overwhelmingly, even though many disabled people were using technology to make their lives somewhat easier, there were considerable barriers in their use, and that they found that it was not necessarily always a seamless or a pleasurable experience. And so then we thought that the best people to talk to would be people who are responsible for creating digital products. And so we spoke to designers, we spoke to developers, and overwhelmingly many of them told us that we would like to be able to make our products more accessible, but we don't have the expertise or the know-how. And so this project that APD has spearheaded, I think, is incredibly important because it seeks to fill that very important gap of know-how and kind of catching young developers and designers young and hoping that they will grow into making accessibility a part of their everyday practice. I think as one of the previous speakers mentioned, say with regards to a CAPTCHA, a CAPTCHA is not only inaccessible to somebody with disabilities, it is also inaccessible, say, culturally. So for many of us who don't know what a fire hydrant is, when it shows, what is a fire hydrant, tick the boxes, that doesn't necessarily mean that many people in this country will be able to understand what that means. And so I think it is important to kind of emphasize that when we're talking about accessibility for people with disabilities, we are actually talking about better design for everyone. And that should be the kind of crucial point that moves us forward as we think about implementing these things in our everyday educational systems. So maybe this is a good thing, and I think I will kind of flag up why I think it's good. Internationally, this is still a huge issue. So the WebMillion report, which did a study of 1 million high traffic home pages, found that 94.8% of home pages have errors according to the accessibility guidelines that are required for websites, and the average number of issues per page is nearly 51, and this is a really huge number. And what this goes to show is that as a community, developers and designers have not been taking accessibility seriously enough. I think there is also a point to be made about how little this has been kind of maybe pushed by regulation and by policy. Even on paper, we might have regulation that ensures mandates for accessibility, but they are not being enforced. So how can we kind of understand the reasons for this gap? So one major reason is the reluctance of companies to invest in training and resources that will ensure accessibility. I think many companies are yet to be, obviously not Amazon because they're doing a great job as we heard earlier today, but many companies are still very reluctant to invest in extra accessibility features because they feel like it will not have sufficient return on investment for them. There's a lack of awareness and training at university level on how to implement access technology. There's a lack of experienced faculty who have the expertise to teach access technology. And accessibility expertise is not currently a criteria in hiring. So it's not a skill set that employers are actively asking for. And so we are hoping to change all of that through this initiative. Again, the global scenario is not great. There are currently only a handful of institutions, as far as I have been able to find, I think it's around 6 to 8, internationally, who have committed to teaching accessibility as a core compulsory module at undergraduate level. So there are examples of elective modules at postgraduate level, but as a core compulsory module, there are still very few. So this is definitely an opportunity for Indian higher education to lead the way in creating a better digital environment for people with disabilities in a way that is suitable to its context. Because I think something that is very important for us to remember is that even though there are excellent resources on the internet as to how to teach accessibility or how to learn about accessibility, not all of these resources are geared towards our local context, which is a very multilingual context. We have, as was mentioned earlier, a wide range of devices that are being used to access the internet. We have a wide range of users with varying amounts of literacy. So we do definitely have to be aware of the specific context that we are in India also working with. So we have, with the working group members here, we have been thinking about, what are the different ways by which we can approach this problem. So one, of course, is to introduce accessibility curricula at university level. Also, simultaneously have training in-house at companies and startups that are responsible for creating digital products. Training for trainers who will provide, who will be kind of teaching the students, and this can be provided by accessibility specialists. encouraging hiring committees in design and technology spaces to consider expertise in access technology as a desirable skill set. So just earlier today, we were discussing that if a campus recruiter comes to a university and just asks one question, that do you know how to make products accessible? And if the student is able to respond in the positive, that immediately motivates both students and faculty to ensure that accessibility training is part of their education. And also to create, and this, we're already kind of getting there, creating fruitful relationships between disability organizations such as an APD or Enable India and digital product organizations for imagining and testing technology. So I think something else that we see, that there is not enough involvement of people with disabilities in technology, building technology or designing technology. As Bhumika mentioned, the course that Amit teaches on has a few disabled students who are actually part of the course and are kind of invested in creating digital products. But we need a lot more people with disabilities involved in the process. So the syllabus is in your folder. There is one sample syllabus that can be used as a foundation for thinking about how the syllabus might look for various institutions. There are also two examples from the University of Washington, which is a leader in providing education on access technology. Since it's quite detailed, I'm not going to go into that, but I'll just do a very brief overview of what we believe are the essential elements for such a curriculum. Please do feel free after this to add anything that you feel that we have missed, because it's very possible that we might have. So the first thing that we want to ensure is that students have an idea of what it means to ensure equity for people with disabilities who are using technology. So this means, of course, a knowledge and understanding of the lived experience of people with disabilities through both theoretical readings, but also through conversations, through encounters with people with disabilities who have different conditions, who might be at different life stages. I think something that it's important to also convey to younger people is that one might be born with a disability, but one might become temporarily disabled. One might be in the same category as a disabled user as they grow older. So by no means is this a small quantum of the population that we're talking about when we're talking about disability. There's a great need to, as I was saying earlier, to contextualize the condition of people with disability in India, such as access, literacy, caste, class, gender, and other limitations that might shape their experiences. There's, of course, a great need for students to be aware of what are the standards and regulations that are currently in place. So, for example, the organizations such as WCAG, which is the Web Accessibility Consortium guidelines, specify how to design and develop for the purposes of accessibility, and these provide the foundation for any kind of digital development for access technology. Something that I do want to also point out is while these are, of course, incredibly detailed and granular, there's been less attention paid, again, by digital product companies looking at mobile apps and accessibility. And since Indian users are much more habituated to using mobile apps, I think that that is somewhere that we should be really putting our focus. Relatedly, legal mandates and remits from both international and national areas kind of also shape the guidelines for building digital products. So say, for example, and the EU Accessibility Act, etc., because many of these products obviously move across borders. And we, of course, have legal mandates that are constantly in progress due to lobbying and advocacy by disability rights activists. So we've had a conversation today about, for example, ATMs and the right kind of height, etc., for those, which were all consequences of disability rights activists pushing for those needs. And it is essential for students to have a robust sense of what are these issues that people with disabilities face. We do understand that for university students, time is always of the essence. And of course, putting in a new compulsory module can be disruptive, and it might be seen as a burden for many administrators and faculty. So we have kind of explored possible ways in which we might be able to ease this. One is to have an umbrella organization that offers these courses and the institutions buy into those courses. So there's an example from Canada, which did multidisciplinary cohorts from Carleton University, Ottawa, and Queen's University, and they basically kind of create a kind of a batch that has different disciplinary specialities, but are also very aware about access and access technology. Another way to kind of maybe lessen this burden is also to have maybe a core module that is compulsory, so for computer science and design students, which might have the same initial offerings, but then it can bifurcate according to their interests and their expertise. So obviously design students would focus on things that need to be changed and to be managed on the UI UX side, whereas with computer science students, it's more about what would happen at the back end. There are many resources available for instructors and teachers who wish to teach accessibility, and in the curriculum you'll find links to these websites. But these are all mostly located in the US and the UK, and they are very interested to kind of create collaborations elsewhere. So I think this is definitely an opportunity for Indian universities and institutions to kind of step up and deepen those relationships. So why would a student want to learn about accessibility at all? Apart from the obviously the ethical goodness inherent to creating these things that in a way that makes it more accessible for people with disabilities, it can obviously create new professional opportunities, and we really want students to understand that this is a possible career path. They might become accessibility experts in government or in corporate organizations, or consultants in what is still a very nascent field. So we have definitely seen an increase in organizations that offer accessibility audits, etc., in India in the last few years, but it's still very much a growing market and a very promising one for those who might want to get into these spaces. There's of course, because there has been some research, but there's still so much more to do in terms of innovation in creating digital technologies for PWD, especially with the promise of things like AI, AR, VR. There is a lot of potential for students and for faculty to kind of look into applying for large grants in order to kind of create innovative products, etc. So I'll stop there because I know that we don't have very much time. But yes, please do let us know if you have any comments, questions, or suggestions. And this is my email address if you'd like to write to me directly. Thank you.
Can we have the screen share, please?
So maybe Padmini, you want to spell out the email address?
Yes. So it's PADMINI, Padmini, at design, DESIGN, BEKU. So for those of you who are not Kannada speakers, Beku is I want. So design Beku means I want design. So it's designbeku.org, O-R-G.
Thank you so much, Padmini, for explaining what we've been doing for 2 months in a very short period of time. I would like to take this opportunity to invite Rajesh sir for his comments and any feedback, and I think it's the best way to start. May I invite you, sir, please?
See, obviously, just as in digital world, we need certifications, etc. In physical accessibility also. For example, let us say there's a forensics case in a court, then court will say कि कोई expert आके testify करे. Actually, let us say an activist files a case against a building, कि building is not accessible as per whatever norms, and the court will say कि who says it is not accessible? Who is the expert whose opinion I can take as granted? As of now, frankly, we just had actually 5 organizations, architectural firms, empaneled from DAPWD side as certified empanelists. So we were after Mahua also after Council of Architecture also that someone should start a certification course. Just like a doctor कौन है? तो there is a पूरा mechanism है, एक regulator है जो doctor बनाता है. Only then you can practice. So who can certify to a court that this building is accessible or not? Who can certify to a court that this app or website is accessible or not? or this educational resource is accessible or not. तो ऐसा कुछ था नहीं. तो एक तो हमने कहा कि पूरे देश में 5 ही एम्पैनल्ड फर्म्स हैं, चलो इसको बढ़ाते हैं, 27 किया और किया, ऑलवेज ओपन कर दिया. बट देन what should be the qualifications of people who are those in those architectural firms? Can we assume कि आज कोई आर्किटेक्चर है जो आपके घर का नक्शा या सिनेमा हॉल का नक्शा या गवर्नमेंट ऑफिस का नक्शा बना रहा है, कि उसको एक्सेसिबिलिटी का पता है, उसने पढ़ाई किया क्या, जब उसने कोर्स किया उसके कोर्स में ये मॉड्यूल था कि नहीं, चाहे सिविल इंजीनियरिंग का कोर्स किया या ड्राफ्ट्समैन का कोर्स किया या आर्किटेक्चर बनने वाला कोर्स किया. So there is obviously need for certifications. अब ये CCPD I am running, I am hearing course, lot of cases, अमर भी फाइल करता है, बहुत लोग फाइल करते हैं. और वेबसाइट ओनर, वेदर इट्स प्राइवेट वन, उबर और ओला और ए सरकारी वन, जैसे नहीं हमारी साइट तो एक्सेसिबल है, ये टूल पे 91 स्कोर आ रहा है, 92 आ रहा है, बट देन अमर और सम द अदर कंप्लेन वुड से कि नहीं, कैप्चा में फंस जाते हैं, अगर स्कोर 99 भी है तो इट्स यूजलेस टू मी. सो हु सर्टिफाइज टू द कोर्ट or who tells me as CCPD, I'm myself techie, that's very irrelevant, but as a judge, whose opinion do I trust? So digital में कोई Indian certification था ही नहीं, so very reluctantly I am now saying as CCPD कि IAAP certified, International Association of Accessibility Professionals, उसका जिसके पास सर्टिफिकेट है, जिसकी कीमत सिर्फ $150 है इंडिया में एग्ज़ाम पास करने की, सिर्फ 600 लोग ऐसे हैं जिन्होंने किया हुआ है आज तक. So I said, but this is a stopgap arrangement. So STQC DG also met me yesterday, how to basically start a certification course and give a valid certificate. So which we can say कि yes, anyone who has done this certification, they can testify before a court that this website is 100% accessible or 92% accessible or whatever. Same goes here. So 2-3 things which have happened are, with Council of Architecture, they have developed 5-6 modules, and they have I think about 30 colleges of architecture across the country. So their professors have got trained for 3 days, and that training also involves actually going to buildings and doing, so it is theoretical training, online training, offline training, and then actually going as a team to various buildings and preparing a report. So that's a 3-day course. And then we said anyone with the architectural background, those who are already in the market as architects, they do this 3-day module, they will automatically get empaneled on our website as certified physical infra auditor. So for those students who are studying in these colleges, we said कि आप 30 hours या 60 hours का 1 credit का या 2 credit का course चालू कर लीजिए, which should be mix of online training, offline training, and actual survey of buildings or parks or roads or whatever. Then IIT Kharagpur has designed a module. Again we said कि पूरा semester का course तो बच्चे बोर भी हो जाएंगे, इतना material भी नहीं है. जो करिकुलम फ्रेमवर्क में आजकल है, UGC ने भी माना है, AICTE ने भी माना है कि 30 hours translates to 1 credit. So we say 30 hours या 60 hours, इस टाइप के मॉड्यूल्स बना लीजिए. So ultimately it boils down to this, and I'm sure Council of Architecture should be open to this idea. I am definitely open to this idea, and I was talking to STQC कि ऐसा नहीं कि यार सरकारी सर्टिफिकेट ही होना चाहिए कि नीलिट देगा या STQC देगा या NIC देगा या सरकारी यूनिवर्सिटी देगी. इंडिया में जैसे डिजिटल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर में फॉर नेटवर्किंग कंपोनेंट्स, इवन चाहे IIIT के प्रोफेसर साहब बैठे हैं, तो आपके खुद के डेटा सेंटर के लिए, राउटिंग सर्वर्स के लिए आपने कहा होगा कि भाई ग्रेजुएट भी होना चाहिए और CCNA का सर्टिफिकेट भी होना चाहिए, सिस्को का. सो एज ए कंट्री वी आर एक्सेप्टिंग सिस्को सर्टिफिकेशन. सो हेयर ऑल्सो इफ ए प्राइवेट कंपनी सेज कि आई हैव ए गुड कोर्स ऑन डिजिटल एक्सेसिबल सर्टिफिकेशन और a physical audit accessibility auditor certification, so at least as CCPD or as Secretary DPWD, I am absolutely willing to say that okay, they follow certain standards, and I am willing to say that as CCPD I will accept this certification. I'm sure once I do that as CCPD, even High Court will say okay, ठीक है, उन्होंने मान लिया तो I think we should encourage private companies, private universities, other private exam taking bodies also to run these courses. But then obviously वही क्वेश्चन आता है कि कोर्स करके उसको मिलेगा क्या, वो ऑडिटर का ठप्पा मारेगा, उसकी कोई वैल्यू है कि नहीं है. So we are willing to impart that value to the whosoever gets certified. But we hope some 2-3 good groups, maybe I won't trust APD कि मैं कैसे कर दूँ, मैं भी as a bureaucrat थोड़ा डरूंगा. But if APD does it jointly with, let us say, Triple IT or someone, I will be very happy to trust that brand in a sense. Don't feel offended at this, but to start with, I think we have to go on that path, है ना. But जो भी सर्टिफिकेट करे, चाहे 3 दिन का, चाहे 30 घंटे का, चाहे 60 घंटे का, स्टूडेंट करे या मार्केट में एग्जिस्टिंग प्रोफेशनल करे, एज ए गवर्नमेंट, एज ए कोर्ट, वी हैव टू इम्पार्ट सम वैल्यू टू दैट. Those are initial reactions, but I think others will have questions on this. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. I think it's a very, very interesting aspect of certification. I think this is something that we've also been discussing. And I think I would like to also announce that we have representation from the industry in a very good manner. We have NASSCOM, CII representatives online also. And we have the representation. Okay. We have the representation from the industry. So I think the certification idea can be floated. We will have continuous working group discussions now that this has been, I mean, we were telling our working group members that work has now begun, and that this is now where we will take this forward into different industries. So now the floor is open for any other comments and questions. I'm aware there is Chauhan sir from Ministry of Education, UGC. So would you have any comments?
Thank you very much. So first of all, I am very thankful to respected Agarwal Saab that he is the secretary, and I feel proud that he is very active, and he is also awareing us as well. And in the University Grants Commission has also taken various issues pertaining to persons with disability, and the guidelines has already been approved and put up on our UGC website. And another guidelines has also been put up on the website that is related to pedagogical aspect and learning disabilities. And in the meantime, the ministry has directed us to visit the accessible audit. And I feel proud that we have already visited around 33 universities and taken into account that what are the initiatives taken by the concerned university for the persons with disability. And I am happy that each and every university, the students are happy, we interact, and there are some successful stories. Some students become civil servants, some students become IIT, and some students become professors, teachers, psychologists, and Paralympics, Olympics. So we should sensitize time and again, and I am happy, and I am sharing some issues with respected Agarwal Saab that when we prepare all the photographs, all the activities of all these 3 universities, we will give a good presentation to our Honorable Secretary sirs. And I feel happy that he is time and again taking each and every activities related to persons with disability. And we are also happy, I feel proud that I am the part of this activity, and the responsibility has given me to the Honorable Chairman of UGC and Secretary UGC. And we are working together each and other. There are so many other our guidelines providing the grant to the persons with disability, especially teachers. Every year we are providing, and we are reviewing the guidelines. And I think that soon our authority is very willing to do more work on accessibility guide in the best advice of our secretary sir. Thank you very much. So nice of you.
Thank you, sir. I think we will be taking you up on the implementation of especially this course as a starter. Any other questions from the hall, or any questions online? If you have a question, please raise. You can raise your hand on the Zoom chat as well.
I am Astos Singhal, not applicable. I am not from any organization. So basically my question is like when अगर हम पढ़ रहे हैं किसी यूनिवर्सिटी के अंदर तभी हम वो सर्टिफिकेट कर सकते हैं, या लाइक अगर मैं इंटरेस्टेड हूँ और मुझे करना है तो मैं तभी भी कर सकता हूँ उसमें, उस यूनिवर्सिटी के अंदर, उस सर्टिफिकेट के अंदर इनरोल करके.
Would you like to respond to that, Padmini?
So I think what we are hoping to do is go with a initiative that allows people from outside universities to also avail, because we've also learned that people within corporate organizations don't necessarily have enough kind of time or expertise to do it as part of their professional lives. So what we would probably like to do is, as I was saying earlier, kind of having an umbrella organization that offers trainings that can be both for the university students as well as people from the outside as well. And if we can actually succeed with the certification, then that will make it even more legitimate and possible.
Even some weekend classes.
Yes,
Even working professionals can
absolutely, or evening classes, exactly, yeah.
Thank you, Padmini. Any other questions from the room? I know we have representation from NASCOM and CII also in the room. If anyone would like to raise a question, provide a comment. Yes. One second. We'll just get the mic to you.
Thank you. That's an interesting point, Rajesh sir. I think it's not just someone by nature interested, but I'm seeing a lot of organizations in the industry that need trainings for their employees because probably they would have got a project from the US, they want to make their website accessible, and suddenly they need it in next 1 to 2 weeks. So this kind of a certification that we are proposing should be primarily to increase the knowledge of employees in India, but also be as a industry practice that goes beyond India.
Thank you so much, Rakesh. I think we have a question online. What's the question? Dr. Amitabh, can you unmute yourself, sir, and ask your question or your comment, please?
Indeed, sir, of APD Foundation, I am sitting in the morning and going and hearing the reviews and deliberations. My questions are two. Number one, we are talking about accessibility since I should say about 20-25 years. But the changes are not yet visible. Because accessibility is not there, then challenged person or child, they are refrained from different services, and we are there. Only there should be progress in our life. If we are seeing thoroughly people are concerned, so we can't blame people also, because we have to increase it. Secondly, the technology is a very important. Like I am a person with cerebral palsy and I cannot write. When I go and try to use the computer, then also is a challenge. So for visual brothers, sisters, things are good. But what is happening to the neurodiversity, which needs to be addressed at the national level? And it's very, I should say, surprised that not a single participant is there, not a single address has been given to cover this challenge, and Spark India is trying the level best so that at least the concerns of neurodiversity children persons should be addressed, and we can take the help of IITs across our country. That's all what I have to say. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir, for your comments. Padmini, let's group a few together, and then we'll take all of them. So we'll group 3. So I think sirs, and I think Dr. Richa has a comment. Can one of our members please give her a mic? Thank you.
I think
Please your name and organization.
Oh yes, okay. So hello all, I am Dr. Richa Gupta from IIIT Delhi, and I teach a course at an undergraduate BTech level on inclusive design and accessibility. I also conduct research in the same domain. So one of the things which Padmini mentioned, which is I agree with, is why would, so for example, my course is also a 4th year or 3rd year elective, right? Why would an undergrad student take such a course. And to my understanding, since all of our students, be it IITs or triple ITs, who are passing out, graduating as engineers or designers, they are the people who are getting hired in all of these organizations, and they are the ones who are building all of the new technology that eventually comes back to the consumers. So to my understanding, we have to sensitize them in some or the other manner, so that at least they come and take such courses. And so, for example, in our institute, I've been teaching this course for 4 years. So after 2 years of turn up, what I started doing was, so there, every college first year there is foundation course, right? Like something like an introduction to engineering, or an introduction to design, or an introduction to HCI, or some like introductory first year course. So there I tried to talk to the respective faculty and included a couple of slides on what is accessibility. I would request them and kind of just do an ad, basically. Okay, it's like, so this is something which is relevant and important, and all engineers should be aware of it, and kind of sell my course in a way. And that definitely helped with the turn up. And of course, other aspects apart from a certified course, or apart from a 4-credit course which undergrad can take, we also do short like weekend workshops, etc. Right? So which the students can also take, at least inside the university. Of course, the certification programs can also benefit professionals and other people from outside the university. But inside the university, such initiatives can also be quite helpful. And we've been trying to do, some hands-on things, that you pick up any day-to-day object and you think about how it is excluding certain groups of people, and then try to redesign it. So that kind of hackathons or designathons or whatever you want to call it, we keep running, so that that kind of initiates that thought process in minds of young engineers and young designers, that okay, this is also a relevant and important aspect of design, engineering, or anything, whatever they are studying. Right, and how it is relevant.
Yeah.
And I also try to put that, well, in my course primarily, that this is primarily an untapped area. So it poses a very good opportunity for you as a professional, or even if you want to do research in the domain. Very little work is there. You can publish comparatively easily, that kind of excites them in some way. So I think all of these things we can try to incorporate in some way.
Thank you so much for your comments. I think we have one online, and then I'll hand over to Padmini for the response. Manisha online, I think Manisha Patil wants to respond. Can you please unmute yourself and make your comment?
Yeah, hi. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Manisha. I lead the community engagement and the DI in communities charter for Amazon. And last 4 years, the way I'm working with the Department of PWD and with the not-for-profit partners, I think that the organization and the department have really made a lot of difference into the corporate world by bringing the right perspective, whether it is Purple Fest or this kind of conferences has really helped our leadership to understand where the accessibility, whether it is about doing the right training, creating the inclusive training content, creating the inclusive hiring processes, creating the right onboarding, and then thriving this aspirant in an inclusive way into the organization. And there are few products like Alexa and few more which have kind of given us a confidence that we can definitely bring the difference. But I would say we still have a very limited options in the market. And having this kind of conversation and really encouraging more new startups and new organizations to make this as a BAU, as like a normal options. When I go to any of the other countries, whether it is North America or whether it is Europe, there are so many accessible products, start from the crockery or kitchen services which are accessible for the PWDs, or whether it is sanitation. These are very as basic as anyone can have it. But there is a lot to be done in this area. Well, I understand education, aspiration is good, but let's start from these aspects also, which nobody talks. But that is also crucial for anybody to, really feel confident and be mobile. Today, a lot of youth are not ready to relocate because the first question is that who will be caretaker with me? How would I have my basic essentials? Then I can be confidently represent to my workplace and deliver in a confident way. So I really urge this cohort that beyond this conference, how this conversation can be continued under the guidance of Dr. Rajesh Agrawalji, and then continue to have the new ideas come up so we all can not have the discussion but also move the actionable from our end and bring the accessible country across.
Thank you, Manisha. I think just to make also a quick comment on the concept of including all kinds of disability, whether it is digital accessibility or the other. We also have, apologies for not mentioning earlier, we have two advisors to our working group as well, Mr. Mohan Sundaram and Ms. Kanchana, who are not from the the digital accessibility space, but whose inputs have also helped us make this a much more well-rounded approach, and in terms of how to help implement this in a much better way. I'll hand over to Padmini to group the three other questions together and answer them, and then we'll move ahead.
Yes, so to address the first point that was made by the gentleman online, I think overwhelmingly a lot of the research that I looked at in order to put the syllabus together, we did find that overwhelmingly visually impaired people are the most well served by digital innovation. And it's something that we definitely need to focus on. And the reason why I have included the syllabi from the University of Washington is actually because they have components on fabrication and physical computing, which can help inform the creation of kind of technological or digital innovation for people with neuromotor or different kind of neurodiverse disabilities. So yes, I mean, there's a huge gap there, and something that, I mean, as Richard was saying, it's a kind of very unexplored field and really needs to be kind of students need to be made aware that there's a lot of exciting and innovative work that can be done in that space. I think something that I want to kind of echo from Richa's excellent example of what she's been doing at IIIT Delhi is that something that, as somebody who teaches design and human-centered design, is that usability is a core value. And I think that if we're telling our students that when they're just making digital products for a non-PWD, then they need to see that usability is a core part of accessibility. And I think it's another way for them to understand how to make a product usable. I think one important thing that we really need to be able to convey is that when we are saying designing for accessibility, it is not only for PWD. It is better technology and better design for everyone. I think talking about kind of why should a student do this kind of work? Again, I think, as Richa mentioned, I think it definitely opens up international opportunities because there's definitely a lot of interest in companies outside the country. But also, the purple economy, there is clear evidence that more and more disabled people are using technology, and there's a definite market for this kind of work, which I think any startup or company that takes the lead on this is going to kind of benefit from taking that kind of a leap. One thing that I didn't mention during my talk that I just want to quickly bring up is also leveraging expertise on campus. And by this I mean, students who are being served by the disability cells, so students who are disabled or faculty who might be disabled. And so kind of also kind of asking them for kind of more insights into what it means to be disabled and learning from them as well. And in the syllabus, you'll see there's a link that leads to case studies where the adoption of accessible technology has led to very clear business successes. So there is definitely a case for this kind of intervention. And I think it's really more a question of getting students to think more imaginatively when they innovate, and kind of, as the last speaker was saying, that if you're thinking about a digital product, to look outside the box and kind of think more creatively about how an accessible product might have uses beyond a disabled market. Thanks.
Any questions? Yes, Kamna, can one of the mic please go there? I think this is Kamna from NASCOM. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Kamna from NASCOM, and it's a privilege and a great privilege to be here in this summit today. I just want to share that at NASCOM, we have regular sensitization workshops for our employees. In fact, we don't call them like for disabled friend, we call them differently abled. And for we are working in partnership with a couple of organizations to train neurodivergent people with neurodivergent skills as well. In fact, these are not just like checkbox activities kind of things. It's, the program that we are doing in collaboration with MathCo is an 18-month long intensive program for neurodivergent people where which is followed up by placement interventions. So there is work that is being done, but I agree that a lot more needs to be done. So yeah.
I think that's a fair comment. I think industries and organizations like NASCOM, if they decide to take it up and make it, a mandate to include digital accessibility, I think that will be quite useful as well. I think Mr. Gambhir has a question. Yes.
So I just wanted to suggest, to ensure accessibility, academia and the corporates has to work together to bring in, greater change. So couple of suggestions from my side would be, number one, to sensitize the middle level managers. There is one workaround which one can, explore is, many of the middle managers go for an executive MBA after gaining experience of 5 to 7 years. And every B school is offering, an executive MBA, and very premier B schools are offering executive MBA. In that executive MBA itself, there is a curriculum for IT. One, it can be made part of that elective or the subject which is being taught, or it may be introduced as another elective which students can choose for. And if these middle level managers are sensitized, they will be definitely able to get it implemented to a certain extent. Number two, the second suggestion I wanted to make is regarding if these industries bodies like FICSI, CII, IBA, if they make it mandatory, mandate the corporates to introduce courses on digital accessibility, this curriculum on digital accessibility as part of the induction of new employees amongst the corporates. I think this will be also helpful, because the corporates like Infosys, Oracle, if they'll have during the onboarding process, when they mandate that the employee has to complete certain e-learnings as part of their cultural integration. So I think this will be also a great help. Yeah, these are the two suggestions I wanted to submit.
Thank you so much, Mr. Gambhir. I think that's very valuable. I'll open the floor up for last round if anyone has any questions or comments. Yes. From one Rahul to another.
Okay, I just have a very quick comment, and first of all, congratulations for this one. There are two parts of it. So what I think how this will solve is that according to another statistics from India, around 60%, only 60% of children with disability, they are part of the formal education, right? So this will play a huge role there, if when implemented, as intended. And apart from the suggestions that everyone had, I want to go one step, back. How can we introduce this as a part of early child education? And why I say that, because it's human psychology behind this, because as a kid we are more open to the diverse ideas, we are more open to different kind of ideas, and so maybe creating that hook there may lead to better implementation and better execution. Maybe the students may not ask for that kind of incentive. Maybe it becomes part of their way of life. So maybe some suggestions on that as well. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you so much. Any other questions online or offline? We'll take two last ones, and then I'll quickly ask Padmini to comment, and then we'll wrap this up here. Ayush, yes. Please, your name and organization, please.
Yeah, good afternoon. I am Aman from SBI Foundation. So it's not actually a question, more of adding to the conversation itself. So now, if you're talking about accessibility and if you're talking about curriculum courses, then we're also looking at, like as Rajesh sir said, like we're also looking at mandates or certifications, or let's say I mean there are agencies who can actually tell that whether it's accessible or not, basically a certification. Now that will be I mean this will be the second stage. The first will obviously be curriculum and experts on these subjects, followed by these certifications and agencies, and then I think next step can be mandates, as as Rahul Gambhir mentioned, mandates. And mandates, not directly mandates, obviously first incentives and all, and then we go towards mandates. Because again, if we look at this example of CSRs, like earlier there was CSR existed, but even before the mandate it existed, but after the mandate came, slowly every organization had to take it up. So obviously, I mean, this is a necessity. We are talking about we're talking about diversity, integrity, and all the things, and respect, basically. So then these things have to be in place, and in order for them to be in place, a mandate has to be there for all sorts of accessibility, be it infrastructure, digital accessibility, or even the products and everything that are there on the market.
There is a mandate. It's called the RPWD Act.
Of course, there is a mandate, but the problem with the mandate is the implementation. When we're looking at the CSR, again, that is the thing. Like the mandate is there, and now the successful implementation, like it is being monitored. But with the RPWD Act, obviously there are the mandate is there in the act itself, but the monitoring and the actual implementation of it is not in place.
Noted. Thank you so much. Ayushmita has one comment, I think, and then we can have these conversations after, and then I'll hand over to Professor Amit, and then my colleague Ashmira.
Hi,
Yes,
thank you. This is Ayushmita from Mission Accessibility, but I'm also a researcher and I look at neurodivergent experiences at the workplaces and outside. So what I have is a mix of a comment and a question for Padmini, I believe. Well, in India, whenever we talk about digital accessibility of digital products, I have seen it being described from the perspective of persons with visual impairment, low blindness, things like that. But within my community of neurodivergent individuals, we also struggle quite a bit with digital accessibility because of our difficulties with cognitive abilities, concentration. I struggle quite a bit with reading. The time that I take to read a book is extremely long, is comparatively quite longer. I recently wrote the IELTS exam, and IELTS, as I'm sure anyone who has given that exam would know, is extremely competitive. It is very time bound. You have like 20 minutes to answer 9 questions. It's a very ableist setup, to put it like that. And the only reason why I was able to ace it, because I used a lot of the digital tools that was available to me. So like changing the color from white to black, for example, was extremely helpful. They have this sticky note things where you can choose yellow, turquoise, those colors to highlight those portions as you are doing it. And they mandatorily put these noise cancelling headphones to be able to give that exam. And I passed with flying colors, literally, which I was not expecting, because the preparation was so ableist. And I realized that a lot of the inbuilt mechanisms within the exam was actually quite, making the process quite accessible. So Padmini, what I wanted to ask was that in the work that you have done, have you also looked at things like bionic reading, which makes reading a little easier for neurodivergent individuals? Or there is this concept of when we read, when people who are not blind, when they read, we move our eyes. So if I read Inclusive India Summit, I'm moving my eyes. But there's a concept where the words move but not the eyes. So those things make reading easier. They are more accessible. It helps with writing exams, especially competitive exams where you have these subjective questions. So I was just wondering if that has come in at all. And if not, just nudging pushing you towards doing that? Because I do feel that in India it's quite untapped, and there is very little, even consultation around this area is very poor when it comes to any kind of accessibility for neurodivergent people.
Thank you so much, Ayushmat. I think that's a very interesting perspective. I'll just ask Shreyas to give you the mic, Padmini, and then we'll...
Amit wanted to say something.
Okay. Oh, do you want... All right. Please go ahead.
No, I think this is a very important point that was just now made. I probably missed hearing this word ableism throughout the day, and this is very important because what we want to do through this curriculum and most of the changes that we intend to through accessibility and inclusion is mindset change. And mindset change, while certifications are important, I understand what Mr. Agrawal is saying in terms of having a group of certified people. But at the level of knowledge that the students have to gain, they need to internalize, and internalization requires them to understand and confront some of these terms. We use a lot of anti-ableist terms, and people should be able to see through these terms. People should be able to engage with why those terms should not be used, and that will require a kind of engagement that is not very instrumental. So that's not something that says, okay, you will now be able to design this particular widget in an accessible manner for a neurodivergent person. That is more at a something that a social science training will bring in. And I guess that's why apart from certifications and the short duration courses, we need to look at embedding these kinds of courses into, let's say, the first or second year of undergraduate programs. And this is something very similar to, I know there's a lot of kind of, UGC has been coming out with a mandatory environmental studies curriculum, a mandatory curriculum on gender studies, and it could become too much of a overkill. But I guess there has to be some sort of an understanding of how do we work at the mindset level in terms of some of the ableist kind of practices, some of the ableist taken for granted terms that we regularly use in our day-to-day life. And I guess from that perspective, the curriculum needs to have that component. We have tried to put it there, and that's an important part. It may not look very skill-oriented or job employable kind of instantaneously, but these are very important things. And at some level, through the department, through the ministry, I hope, I guess, school curriculum, we see a lot more gender-neutral terms being used, a lot more, say, stories that are changing to factor in the evolving sensibilities around gender. If the department and ministry could also work with the school education department to see that we also bring in anti-ableist terms and anti-ableist stories within class 1, class 2, class 3 kind of textbooks, I think that would make for a easier transition into the mindset change that we are looking at.
Thank you, Amit. We have a couple of questions online as well, but unfortunately we do not have time for any more questions. I'll give you a couple of minutes, Padmini, to just respond to the last few, and then I'll hand over to Ashmira for a quick way forward and vote of thanks. Yeah.
Great. So just to answer the question about mandates, I think the problem actually is that, as Bhumika mentioned, they do exist. The gap is in terms of enforcement and also, to be honest, penalty. So there does need to be a system where the failure to enforce does incur some kind of penalty, and I don't think we see that enough in India. Another thing that, kind of coming back to what was brought up about neurodiversity, I mean, thank you so much for making that point. It is very important. And I just wanted to very quickly talk about the workshops that I mentioned earlier, where many of the people with disabilities that we were speaking to were talking about how they would really like to see more modularity in their devices. So I think what is missing is the ability ability for people with disabilities to add a layer of usability that suits their disability. So at the moment, it's very led by what are the assumptions about disability. So for example, everyone knows that people might have visual disability. But say, for example, something that kept coming up again and again in our workshops was people were finding the fact that an OTP is only for such little time very difficult. So they would have to switch between, browser windows or whatever. So all of these little kind of incidental interactions that we encounter when we're using digital products, a lot of this actually needs to be thought about at the OS level, and kind of how does one kind of put a layer on top of that. And that is, again, a very interesting and fruitful area of exploration that we can encourage students to do. Absolutely agreed with Amit that, we need to be, this conversation about ableism has to be very front and center. And coming to your point about integrating this at school level, I think one thing that we might want to do, which might be interesting, is actually have, because we have been talking about having hands-on activities for students who might be undertaking these courses, is for them to then go and teach in schools, right? And to kind of talk about disability to students at a simpler level, of course, but to address it there. So I feel like that's very, very crucial in order for people's mindsets to shift. And thank you so much, sir, for the recommendation about middle management and the executive MBA, because that's a very practical and realistic way in which we can maybe start introducing this into industry. I'll just stop there. Thanks.
A very good evening to everyone. My sincere thanks to Rajesh sir and Manmeet ma'am for giving us a direction and to think about introducing this as a course for which we can get permissions from sir once we're able to do it effectively. I think that's a very huge support for us. We would require the department support to get this curriculum implemented, because that was ultimately the whole idea, to get this implemented with students in different universities and colleges in India. So that's where we would require support, sir, and even Manmeet ma'am and the department. We have people from the working group who have been working with us since the beginning of since last 3 months. And I am going to kind of take everyone along and work with them to see how this can be taken forward. So I request Rakesh and Mohan sir to lead the industry vertical of the implementation, so to say, where we can approach different universities like CII, NASCOM and others to see how this curriculum can be a part of their learning and development programs, so that new employees at least can start getting trained there. I'd request Dr. Amit and Padmini, because they both are academicians, to see how we can also get this implemented for students and universities across India, so we can do coordination with the UTC, and Chauhan sir, of course, is here, so that implementation should, I think, be very easy, and we'll, of course, be there in that whole process. Dr. Amit, and Padmini, and we can basically get in touch with UTC, AICT to see how this can be implemented. And we can see how we can take this to teacher training courses, because teachers training is something where accessibility training is a very important need. So maybe if we could request Mohan sir to also support us in that initiative. And then we have other people, and of course Amar is there. Amar will can help us with all these initiatives, and since he is already in Delhi, I think that kind of coordination would be very, very helpful. Ketan sir, of course, and every other member of the working group. It would be great if we could take these initiatives further, have a meeting maybe sometime in the next week, and see how we can divide and get this going. Thank you so much.
Hello. Firstly, I would like to thank Shri Rajesh Agarwal ji before he leaves. Thank you so much, sir, for all your support and your input. I'd also like to thank Srimati Manmeet Nanda, Mr. Praveen Ambashta, Mr. Vikas Singh, without whose support we would not have been able to do this event, and for their coordination. We hope to get their continued support in our endeavor to get this curriculum implemented. My thanks to the DEPWD for organizing the event with wonderful venue and logistical arrangements. I would also like to thank the sponsors for the event, the SPI Foundations, and our partners, NAB Delhi and Mission Accessibility, for this collaboration. It's great to see how we could work together on this. We hope to continue to get their support in our advocacy initiatives at APD. Last but not least, I would like to thank each member of our working group Padmini Mare for doing the arduous job of preparing the curriculum, Sai Bhagat and Shubhanshu for reviewing the curriculum, Amar Jain for his valuable legal input, Rakesh Bala Dokla, apologies if I said that wrong, and Ketan Kutari for being active participants of the working group, Dr. Amit Prakash for his valuable feedback as an academician, Tariq Aziz, Ananda, Ms. Kanchana Ganeshan, and Mr. Mohan Sundaram for their feedback and participation. A special thanks to the students of computer science in BMS College, Shreyash, Priyanka, Prajwal, and Shashidhar, without whose inputs this working group would not have been complete. We'd also like to thank the Ford Foundation for their support of Yes to Access. Last but not least, I'd like to thank you as an audience for your participation, your inputs, and the people that joined online. Thank you for your support. We look to do this together. Thank you.
Just for everyone waiting, the event is now officially closed. Thank you very much.